Welcome to episode 6 of Truck Case Mentor. I'm Fred Burkey, and our topic today is securing the best experts. Let's dive in. So, you might have had your first truck case, or maybe it's even your second or third, and you've got this sense that you're not quite sure what happened with the case. You don't know how to look deeper. You suspect there's more involved with the motor carrier's responsibility. You've likely heard from other places or other attorneys that really in a truck case, it's not necessarily the driver we're focused on, but the motor carrier. What did the motor carrier do wrong that contributed to the wreck? But you're unclear about what the motor carrier should have done. You know there's more to the case, and it's just frustrating. It nags you. I've certainly been there. I've had a recent dump truck case, interstate carrier, but a lot of the same regulations apply by virtue of our state adopting the federal motor carrier safety regulations. But with all that said, it was hard to understand the responsibility that the key player in the case had for the wreck. I knew they had a role to play in the crash. I knew they were responsible. I just didn't know where to start. I was fortunate in that case. I reached out to an expert I've used for years. He taught me the law in that area. He guided me to find a legal theory that worked. Really, in our best world, what we want is to assemble all the responsible parties, find out what happened, have someone who could guide us to find legal theories against each that are both persuasive and can be defended well in depositions and at trial, and then have your case put together so well that you'll be able to resolve it in mediation or perhaps later at trial because the defense realizes it's got no other option but to settle. Some of the key experts you're going to need in your case are going to be number one and first is your reconstruction expert. Your recon expert's going to evaluate the crash. He's going to visit the scene. He's going to take measurements. Good experts are going to have digital imagery where they can do 3D CAD images, and they're going to be able to ultimately at trial show moving images of how all the vehicles interact with one another leading up to the crash. Your reconstruction expert's also going to be able to rule out some important things like whether or not your client somehow contributed to the crash. He or she are going to take measurements that will be able to evaluate the point of impact and also any crush damage that can lead to the dynamics involved in the crash and how the vehicles moved right before impact. One key thing I could tell you is no matter how simple and straightforward a crash might appear, it's always best, I mean really always, to hire a reconstruction expert. Defense attorneys in trucking defense are always going to contest negligence, and they're always going to say things like, it was a sideswipe, or your client ran into my client, something silly like that. In a more involved case, you're going to want a standards expert. A standards expert is going to be someone who evaluates the standard of care applicable to motor carriers, and he's going to evaluate both the federal motor carrier safety regulations, which form the minimum standard of care, as well as the industry standards of care. Those are best practices among the trucking industry. Those two sets of standards weave together to create an overall set of responsibilities that the motor carriers should have followed, and if they didn't, might have contributed to the crash. And that's what a standards expert is going to be vital for. And of course, at this point, we're just talking about negligence experts, not speaking of causation or medical issues. Another third potential set of experts in a truck case, and something that is rapidly expanding, is the issue of telematics, technology on board the tractor trailer, and being able to evaluate those telematics to obtain key information you need to obtain negligence in the case. One nice thing about good quality experts is they're going to enhance your case. They're going to enhance the persuasiveness of your case. You're going to learn a lot from them. I've learned so much from them in the past. It's enhanced my career and given me a broader exposure to truck issues that I might not otherwise have been aware. So here are some things you can do. Talk to your colleagues, get references to good experts, talk to truck attorneys, reach out to truck organizations, find referrals to good quality experts. When you do find an expert, there's some things you need to understand. One, work with them in collaboration to get alignment on legal theories that work for your case. Don't just accept what an expert might arbitrarily decide is the best theory for your case. Ideally, you develop theory after doing legal research and you approach your expert and see if he agrees with your theory. And if he doesn't, find out why. And then perhaps retool your legal theory, assuming it meets your needs. Use your experts as an opportunity to learn and deepen your knowledge of truck law. Thanks for listening to Truck Case Mentor. If you need guidance or if you just have some questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me at fred@truckcasementor.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.